بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. يا ربنا لقد ظلمنا أنفسنا بذنوبنا ولا غافر لذنوبنا أنت نتوجه إليك ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك وندعوك يا الله تبارك وتعالى أن تقبل هذا وأن تضعه في ميزان حسناته ولا تأخذني بغلط لساني ولا اهديني. أما بعد, I wanted to focus on the topic of why is it that the students that study Islam fail the community. There's a lot of different things to be said in that regard. I've mentioned before that the masajid and the da'wah institutions, the relief organizations, the existing madaris, the way that they have been structured, it really is not in a way where students have a role or a place where they can really do work. And I've criticized for constructive reasons the nature of our community with regard to how it is that our community needs to organize itself better. But I wanted to talk about students that have gone to study and when they come back and how it is that they're failing us. One, they go to the Muslim world when they go there to study. And the Muslim world is by no means in a position on many fronts to really build the best scholarship by itself, by the institutions alone. You have to do extra, you have to put extra work in, you have to think out of the box, because the reality of the situation is that those institutions, including those that are in places like Saudi and other places, they're not meant to build leaders. They're not meant to build leaders. Al-Azhar al-Sharif itself, which is one of the strongest universities in the Muslim world and one of the oldest, in order to get into Al-Azhar literally and administratively, meaning literally when you go into the gates of the Sharia college, there's soldiers at the door. When you register, you have to be accepted by the dictatorship. Do you think that they want to build ulama that have the capacity of organizing the community and have the capacity of giving vision of what direction that we should be going in as a ummah? No way. You understand what I'm saying? And the fact of the matter is, this is one of the reasons why many of the students of knowledge are bereft, meaning that they don't have an understanding of the political. That's one. Second, the curriculums, like in places overseas, many of them are not interdisciplinary and many of them don't speak to the current realities. So that means that the student of knowledge has to put in work to be able to develop themselves intellectually so that they can be a scholar. Because most of these brothers don't qualify to be ulama. What they have done is they have passed tests and so on and so forth, but intellectually they're not at the level of the ulama. A degree by itself, people, is not enough to prove someone that has scholarship. It's beneficial. It's something that we need. You understand what I'm saying? But our people need to develop and cultivate themselves at a higher level. Many of the students of knowledge have no conception of interdisciplinary work. If you put a contemporary Aqidah problem before them, they won't be able to handle it. Because intellectually, they're not at the level of thinking outside of the box. Intellectually, what they're doing is just relating opinions. They don't even have the mind and the capacity to research and come to another level. That's the reality. That's the reality. I'm speaking from the reality of going through those types of systems to see. Then you have, like the Deobandi Madrasa, even in Mauritania and other places, to be a scholar today, you have to be an exceptional person at a higher level. You have these educational systems. Deoband itself, it was established, like in India, it was established as a resistance to the British colonial system. And they separated from any sort of branch of knowledge that was outside of the most basics of Islamic study, and they stayed stuck in the past. That's just the reality of the situation. When Sheikh Muhammad Abdul decided to call for a reform of Azhar, what he did, he came to the fore and he tried to put forward a curriculum on the Arabic language and put forward a curriculum for interdisciplinary work so that we can have real leadership to build Islamic civilization. And they had to dumb down that curriculum. And it has been the problem. Saudi itself, who built their institutions? It was the ulama of Azhar. It was the same people that they criticized. And although they put forward some good, they still have a long way to go. That's why up to now in Saudi Arabia, there has not been a continuous production of tafsir of the Quran. They just started with that recently, after all of these years. They haven't produced on that level. You understand what I'm saying? They haven't produced anything of a substantial level on that front. And so the students of knowledge intellectually are not prepared, and then they come thinking, carrying that dictator mindship that come from overseas, they come thinking that they're the ones. And they don't pay their dues. They want to come into the community and judge what's right and wrong. They don't even sit with people. They don't even know the troubles and the hardships of people, most of them. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't have any experience being imams in the community for long periods of time and working with other people. That's why many of these brothers, they didn't integrate into the community. You understand what I'm saying? And also, I have made points that the community didn't necessarily make it easy. The community should have had continuing development classes and programs ready for people that have studied. No, but the community doesn't want to put money forward. So they want a ready-made scholar, a qari of the Quran, a marriage counselor, one that can work with the youth. He has to be in Sharia. He has to go to a degree university, all kinds of stuff that is almost impossible to achieve without having spent 40, 50 years. We're the ones that undermine the ulama, but the students of knowledge should know better. The students of knowledge should know better. So when they come, what they do is, rather than paying their dues and respecting the imams, when I came back from Egypt to study, I had under my belt at least almost 8 years of studying Islam before I came back to Ohio. Between what I did in Michigan and what I was doing before in Ohio and when I went to Egypt, the masjid that I left in Ohio, which I used to attend, I was asked to give the khutbah and I didn't give a khutbah, and I just had to take the beating from the elders. And they would test me and put me on, brothers that didn't even study, but they weren't in the community for a long time. And I just took it and I just ran with it and I just continued as much as I can. And then they opened up the minbar for me. And if I wanted to take over the masjid, I could have taken it over. But it was not my goal to take over the masjid. You understand what I'm saying? And so, but because I waited and I was patient with the elders, And the hardships that they gave me a lot of hardships. They opened the minbar because I gained their trust and I was there. I didn't come in to take them out. I didn't come in to criticize them. I just came in figuring out where I can build with them, and that was it. And there was differences of opinion. And that was the case in many instances. The students of knowledge don't want to be humble and pay the price. They've been gone. Y'all been gone. Where have y'all been? You have to come back and learn how to be in America. You have to come back and learn how to deal with people in the community. You know, and so we have a dilemma in which what many have done is they tear down everything that was built, including our relationships with each other. They insert themselves to create fitna, right? And then they call that knowledge. Rather than being leaders and bringing the people together and working with the people where they're at, whatever station that they're at, they sit back to label the people. And of course, there's exceptions to the rules, but there's a dominant trend among students that's how they operate. And then they want the authority. What authority you have? The community didn't give you authority. In the fiqh, the most basic thing, in the fiqh meaning, in the knowledge of the halal and haram, how we perform our actions, in Islamic jurisprudence, is a basic known fact that if the people don't want you to pray the salah, then you have to go. رضا الناس في هذا الموضوع شيء مهم جدا. They have to want you there. You understand what I'm saying? If they don't want you there, then why be there? Imam Ibn Atiyah, when he talked about shura in the Quran, he talked about that if the leader doesn't abide by shura, meaning in taking the opinion of the general community and abiding by it, and he talked about the political leader in that regard. He said that leader should be removed. That's in the tafsir of Imam Ibn Atiyah al-Maliki rahmatullahi alayhi. With regard to consultation and to what extent the leader has to abide by where the people are at. So then what about in our communities? You understand what I'm saying? What about our communities? We have to know where the people are at. If the people don't want you, they don't want you, they don't want you. They don't want us, so what? You go build somewhere else. But it's not enough to create a ruckus, to create damage in the community. Why? You can attract students and teach them how to work with the community and step by step take us to another level. But that's not their goal. That's not the goal. Let me ask y'all a question. How much Quran, and I'm not talking about recitation of the Quran, I'm talking about understanding of the Quran. How much is the Quran central? They talk about hadith and this, that. They don't know how to place the hadith in the proper place. That's the reality at the end of the day. That's why they're in the situations that they're in, people. I don't care what they think about me. So much destruction has been caused in the community. You understand what I'm saying? That it has been a big problem. Because the character of the Quran, the principles of the Quran. You have Salafi brothers, right? That they take opinions, they take positions that are the same positions as Sayyid Qutb towards the people. Then they say they don't follow Sayyid Qutb. Well, y'all make takfir of the community. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all take positions where it is almost like you want to make war with the people. No coexistence with society, no nothing. Like, what madhab are y'all on? Like, what minhaj is that? That's not the minhaj of knowledge. And so people, the students of knowledge, they need to be reminded that they need to continue their development. The students of knowledge, they need to be reminded. You need to remind them that y'all need to listen to us and understand our problems and where we're coming from. And we don't want to hear that you went and cut and pasted a fatwa from online and you're giving us advice. We need you to prove that intellectually you're at the level that you're able to work with the deen and work with us, right? And we can bring solutions to issues. That's what we need. You understand what I'm saying? That's what we need. I'm including myself with the general public. I don't have to be in a position and so on and so forth. I'm given position by the community. You understand? I'm given titles by the community. I didn't ask for titles and positions. This, that is the community that gives. And when the community says roll out, I have to roll out. I'm not going to sit in a community and destroy a community because I don't like the way that they function. You understand what I'm saying? Just roll out. The rizq of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala is where I said. We talk all that talk about Tawheed. All that talk about Tawheed and Aqidah, and at the end of the day, when it comes to these realities, we don't want to deal with them. You know what I'm saying? So the prophets, they were, alayhimus salam, dealing with their people on a regular basis. And it was rough. Yunus, alayhi salatu wasalam, he backed away from his people. But Allah taught him a lesson. You understand what I'm saying? Allah taught him a lesson. He came back. La ilaha illa ant. Subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. That was the dua that he made. He acknowledged Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala is the only one worthy of worship. The only one that is real. God. Nothing else is God. And he made sure that he was clear that he was from those who have oppressed themselves. That type of humility we don't have. We don't lower our wing to each other. And so it puts a lot of us in a position where we have to clap back, because we're clapping back as street culture. You understand what I'm saying? We're clapping back at brothers who are teaching us how to destroy the community. And then they don't take it, you know, they don't take the advice in the right way. You know, and say, نحن نتعامل بقواعد الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. You know, we operate off of the principles of enjoining the good and forbidding the bad, enjoining what is beneficial, forbidding what is harmful. What's harmful to us, O believers, is the continuous bankrupt differing over the deen and not building anything. Our inability to communicate with each other is a deep sign. You know, it's a deep sign of where we're at the end of the day. So the students of knowledge, just because they come from somewhere or just because they have a degree or this and that, no, that's not enough. It's not enough. They have to show and prove that they don't destroy communities. They have to show and prove that they're builders. They have to show and prove that they want to deal with real life circumstances. Because a lot of brothers, what they want to do is stay in books and teach a class and this, that. They can't handle the reality of where the community is at. And I keep saying that to brothers, and I keep saying that to the community. Get a call where you have Muslims, multiple people in that family committing suicide. Get a call when you have families breaking apart and they don't have anywhere to turn to, and you have to deal with that reality. Get a call where a youth is struggling with homosexuality and transgenderism and wants to change his name, and the family threw him on the street and is dependent upon you to deal with that situation, and it's going bad for you. Or a sister that's struggling with sexual issues, or a sister that was abused. You know, get with it. A lot of that stuff is social work. You're not prepared to deal with that reality. So if your knowledge base is not at the level where you can deal with problems, we need you. We need you. It's not to tear you down, but what is to tell you that you need to develop yourself. Catholic priests, we didn't only have to do a bachelor's degree. We had to do the studies that they wanted us to do in order to prepare to be a priest. And mostly every priest that was in there had multiple degrees, and continued development. And they understood counseling and all that type of stuff. And so you understand what I'm saying? We don't develop ourselves. Every other religious community, their leadership develops itself. And then when they don't develop themselves, you see what kind of message that they give. And so everybody knows that reality. So our students of knowledge need to wake up that they need to get with the community, do community service. Show and prove that you want to build the community. Make yourself of benefit aside from talking and giving classes. You understand what I'm saying? And if you give classes, be in a position that what you're teaching is to build the foundation. Don't give me what Saudi said and Muhammad bin Abdul Wahab or some scholar from the past said. That's you know, how do you know that is going to build our community? Like, what's the proof that that's going to build our community? You understand what I'm saying? That's not to knock anybody in that front or knock Mashiach and all that. It's to say that you, as an educator, have to know what you're bringing as far as curriculum is concerned. You, as an educator, have to know whether what you're teaching is beneficial. You just don't repeat what's being taught somewhere else. That may be beneficial there, but may not be beneficial here. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of brothers, that's what they don't understand. They put themselves in the role of educators. They don't have an educational background. And I'm not saying you have to have a degree. You have to have experience with teaching. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You have to have an experience with teaching. And the longer you sit in the community, you realize, man, if I were to teach this particular book to this particular crowd, psychologically, they may not operate in the same way. And the community itself, they'll tell you, they'll say, well, the people operates like this and like that. They teach you. The community itself teaches you. Unfortunately, our Muslim community doesn't value the students of knowledge. But the students of knowledge don't make themselves valuable. You understand what I'm saying? That's another thing. The students of knowledge don't make themselves valuable. There's instability in the game. You understand what I'm saying? There's massive instability in the game. If you go out to be an Imam, you know what I'm saying? You're asking for poverty. That's what you're asking for poverty. And so I leave with this, people saying that we need to up the bar and qualifications. And I had this discussion with brothers and others. It's not necessarily always degrees. You understand what I'm saying? Because degrees are not enough. That's why you get a degree and you go into a corporation and they retrain you. You understand what I'm saying? If the degree was enough, that's why you have, Sheikh Walid al-Manisi, and I had posted it on my page. He had wrote something about, and he's the head of the Islamic University in Minnesota. What qualifies a person? It's not always degrees. You understand what I'm saying? But what we do is students of knowledge want to play gatekeeper instead of community builder. Don't play gatekeeper. Don't play the same game that everybody else is playing. You understand what I'm saying? You have to be patient and take your hits from the community. The community is going to bang you up. They're going to test your patience. They're going to be calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning. You understand what I'm saying? They're going to be bringing their drama to you, their homelessness, their internal domestic violence, their doubts in the deen. Are you ready for that? Are you ready? If you're not ready for that, then don't talk about being a student of knowledge that is going to benefit the community. Go to a university and stay in the university front and try to be an academic. Because coming in our community, just book knowledge is never going to be enough. And as a matter of fact, in Islamic scholarship, book knowledge was never enough. There's also the issue of practicing. There's also the issue of understanding. A lot of things come along with that. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to realize that we're in a stage in history where the Ummah has declined. And so we have to be in a position where we're trying to revive ourselves spiritually with all our struggles. And we have to put our scholarship at another level. At another level. And it's not about demanding you have this many degrees, because a lot of those people that have certain degrees, you understand what I'm saying? They have created messes. They can't deal with the situation. How many people do we have in the New York area with PhDs in Islamic studies from universities overseas? And they can't handle the community realities, except in a very limited way. You understand? So let's not play that game. You know what I'm saying? I've been in major Muslim communities. And it's the American community which operates at a level, you know what I'm saying, which on this front we have big mistakes. We have good points and good strengths on other issues. But our level of literacy and what we're calling for and asking for is very low. We don't even have stable institutions. You understand what I'm saying? And so we're fighting over that. So a lot of the students of knowledge are not in a position where we're looking at what it is that we actually need. What it is that we actually need. And so we want to just duplicate what came from overseas. That's not going to work. It's not enough. You understand what I'm saying? It's not enough to deal with this society. You have to continuously improve your education and your knowledge, from the angle of how is it workable for the people, not how is it workable to prove your status. That's why, I'll say this, and I'm not scared to say this. I'm not scared to say this. I put it on the brother's page himself. And I respect the brother and I love him for the sake of Allah. But look at the trajectory that Dr. Yasser Qadhi has taken. You understand what I'm saying? Look at how long it's taking him to find a place for himself. And his masjid, there was a suicide. And there was a suicide in the masjid, and he just continued like it was not, And I have to say that because that was a public reality. It's not to bash Sheikh Yasser, but it's to show how students of knowledge are not in a position to really be in the Muslim community and push it forward. How many students of knowledge came from overseas and they came to the community and they wrecked it? And see, one of the things that's happening is that now they're talking negatively about our imams, about our elders. Just shut your mouth. Show and prove what you are going to do. You understand what I'm saying? Show and prove what your contribution is. There's no necessity to disqualify others, and we're talking about, that's the confusion that we have. And I have to come into my space here to talk about these things, because we can't have a community dialogue on what it is that we need from these organizations. And everybody wants to be in charge, but at the end of the day, nobody is reliable. Nobody is reliable. Everybody wants to be in charge, but nobody wants to be reliable. And then the community, what they do is they expect you to be on their demand. They don't know how much you have on your plate. They don't know how much you take in, how much, if you don't respond to them on demand, then they criticize you. You understand what I'm saying? But the students of knowledge need to get themselves together. The students of knowledge need to reframe how they think. What they studied overseas is not enough, because they only got the keys to knowledge. They have to develop themselves, evolve themselves, put themselves in a situation of strength, so they're able to what? Serve the community. That's the goal of ilm. يعني أن تعرف الجهل عنك وعن الناس. At the end of the day, is to build literacy for yourself and for others. And I translated that in the other way, because when you say it's to remove ignorance from yourself and others, people they get arrogant with that. They think that they're in a position where they're checking everybody. No. You're serving the community. That's what you're doing. No. What you're doing is serving the knowledge of Islam. What you're doing is you are given an opportunity by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to be in a position where you do the work of the Anbiya. It's not about you being in charge. It's not about you in the spotlight. It's not about a platform. None of that. And so the Anbiya have a different role than everyone else. Unfortunately, in our community, we don't see that. So people don't go for the okie doke. You know what I'm saying? Don't go for the okie doke. We have communities that have been established. Students of knowledge need to figure out where they fit in the whole program. Because if they were overseas, they couldn't do what they do here. You understand what I'm saying? If they were overseas, they would have to get permission to be here, there, to do talk and this, that. Here we have freedom of expression to a certain extent, and we don't know how to use it. And so we have to really think about what is going on. And I keep saying this, we're in 2022 now. It's only 3 years away from 2025. That will be 25 years of this new millennium. So how are we going to shape the next quarter of a century? You understand what I'm saying? Because in 3 years, we're going to begin the next quarter of a century. Are we going to take everything that we have done negatively and everything that we have done wrong with no strategic vision, no strategic plan? And this is for my organizations that say that they're leading in the community. What is the strategic vision of where we should be in 25 years, in 50 years as a community? What are the priorities? You understand what I'm saying? That we should be following. That's the role of leadership, to detail that stuff so that we know where we're going. And that's the bottom line. That we have to have a strategic vision in a practical way of how we're going to achieve that. And it should be for the next 25 years. That is flexible enough that it can be modified. Because if you make it too rigid, it's not going to be something that we are able to implement, because time changes and things happen. But the priorities of da'wah and the priorities of how we should navigate, most of the students of knowledge, don't know. Don't know where they're at. They don't know where they stand. They don't know where the community should be. You understand what I'm saying? And they're just looking at what is there right before them. And in the meantime, people, we're losing youth. We're losing people like crazy. Right? Because the role of being clear-minded and educated and giving prompts to the people is not what the students of knowledge are doing. And so the people themselves are trying to figure out what direction to go in. You know, even with the Aqidah issues, and I'm ending with this. You know, one of the sisters reached out to me. She had asked me about manifesting and actually posted it on my page. And the sad thing is that with all these talks in Aqidah and this, that, people don't even understand certain basics. They don't understand certain basics. And so that reality shows us that a lot of this bickering is not leading to anything. It's not leading to anything. And so our conferences in our organizations should be clear of what it is that we're communicating to the youth. And if we don't have any cultural, intellectual unity, we don't have to have conformity or uniformity, but we have to have some unity, some working unity. We should have some clear goals as to what it is that we're doing with our youth and what direction we're going. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to lay out some points and I'm out of here. 1, we need to have a strong economic base. 2, we need to build communities. 3, and I'm not putting this in a chronological order. It's just laying it out, right? And we can work on these different things, and we can work on these things at different points in time, right? We need economic base. We need community. 3, we need to tighten up on the family. 4, we need to work on the youth. You understand what I'm saying? 5, we need a political vision for how we're going to navigate in the society, which we don't have it. We just got over arguing about whether going into Congress or voting is even halal. That's how backward we are. That we're at the time of suffrage. We're arguing about suffrage. We're not at the level of talking about budgets and the ethics of where budgets go, except those of us who are part of movements. And we get that from those movements that organize. We don't get that from the Muslim community. The whole issue of the concept of defunding and reinvesting and community building and all of that type of stuff, we're getting those concepts from the general community. That doesn't mean that there's not those precedents for that in Islamic teaching, but our creative thinking grounded in the Quran and the Sunnah as far as it comes to vision and political thought of how we navigate in this society. Politics is about allocation of resources. And so it becomes a fight over resources. It becomes a struggle over resources. You know, at the end of the day, we can't shy away from that. And so we need that. And then we need to have, you know, relevancy and knowledge. You know, those are the 6 points that are very important, right? And I would say that we need to learn how to share ideas. Just that by itself. How to differ, how to share ideas, how to set priorities. Leadership building skills. And I can even add that we need mental health, counseling, pastoral training. Those things should be the priority for the whole Muslim community across the country based on our needs. That's all based on our needs. You understand what I'm saying? And tighter organizations, you know, tighter systems of organizations and endowments. That's another thing, because we're talking about preparing for the future. We need endowments. And so with that, we end. Assalamu alaikum.